Hi, welcome to today's episode of A Couple of Things. I'm recording this episode from my friend's baby shower gender reveal party, so it's going to be a quick one. And it's something that I've always thought about and I'm interested in. Why does everyone think that a jack of all trades and a master of one is a bad thing? I absolutely hate that quote, but let's talk about it. So, Jack of all trades, master of none is a quote I hate. I absolutely detest hearing this. And fun fact, the actual full quote is Jack of all trades, master of none, but often better than a master of one. And there's the whole debate about like specialization, generalization, should you generalize, should you specialize? And you probably heard of the concept of a T-shaped professional or a T-shaped designer, which is that you have a knowledge or a breadth of skills, and then you have depth in one particular thing. So for example, you may be a product designer who is especially skilled at interface design. That's like the long part of the T, the vertical part. And then you may know like writing and research and things at a surface level. That's the horizontal part. But I feel that like most people are or should consider themselves in the space of a broken comb designer or a broken comb professional. So what do I mean? You know how like an Afro comb, you have like 8, 9, 10 prongs. And if you think about it as a broken comb, you have some prongs that are really long and then some prongs that are broken at like different lengths. And that is the concept. I feel like most people are multi-potentialites or have the capacity to be, and that most people are not interested in just one thing. And the idea that you have to do one thing for the rest of your life is not the norm, and it's very, very, very rare. There are very few people who actually enjoy doing only one thing and will do one thing for the rest of their lives. I read something some time ago about how every 8 years or every 7 years, like you do a new career. It's like you think to reinvent yourself. And so if you start working when you're 20 and you live till like you're 80, then you can have potentially 7 to 8 different careers. So why do we think that you have to just do one thing and that's it for life? Also, historically, the idea of just doing one thing is pretty recent because historically people were actually expected to have and be knowledgeable about a diverse array of topics. And if you think about Da Vinci, who is like a Renaissance man, is what they will also used to call it in that time, someone who was a multi-potentialite and skilled at many different things. Da Vinci was not just a skilled artist, he was also into sciences and all kinds of things. And if you're in the social sciences, there are some names that you probably hear across multiple disciplines. Everywhere you go, you hear about these people because they contributed to the field of thought in many different topics: science, psychology, sociology, economics, physiology, art. And people had to learn many things and be relatively skilled at many things, including playing an instrument, singing, books, literature. But nowadays, or in the more recent time, everybody wants you to be a thing, like a particular thing. So you're a book person or a literature person or a tech person. Meanwhile, in reality, again, very, very rare that people are doing only one thing for the rest of their lives. And I think about myself, right, and the journey that I've had. I started out in psychology, I work in tech. In that time, I worked as a writer. And even now, I'm starting to think about a new and different expression of what I want to do, who I am. No, not who I am, I know who I am, but like what I want to do and how I want to contribute to the world and to my environment and what kind of skills I want to develop. And a lot of time, people make you feel like you are not a serious person if you have multiple interests and you have to sit down and focus on one thing and niche down and be great at it, as if you can't be great at more than one thing at a time. So, where does this leave people like me who are, and most people actually, like I would say, if you think about a normal curve or a normal distribution, I think that is again very, very rare that there are people who only want to do one thing for the rest of their lives till they die. And yeah, and even in like the quote unquote core sciences, scientists work across disciplines. More recently, right, you probably work in only one discipline, but previously and historically, you have scientists working across physics, chemistry, and all kinds of things. I remember when I was in secondary school, you had to do all the subjects in the first term and then decide whether you'd be a science, arts, or commercial student. I couldn't, like, it was so hard. I couldn't decide on any one thing. I was great at the science subjects except chemistry. I didn't like chemistry. I also didn't like biology, but I did really well at it. And it was a good thing that I kept doing biology because I ended up needing it for psychology, which I didn't know I would need at the time. But yeah, I guess the point is that people should be able to explore the depths of their interests, skills, and desires and not be restricted to one thing. Because the good thing about exploring multiple topics and areas of interest is that you can then start to see things that connect across disciplines that people may not see. It can give you inspiration and ideas for other things that make you more creative and more productive in whatever area that you're looking to focus on. Also, it could just be it brings you joy, right? It's like, and that should be enough. Like, it's something that you enjoy doing. It doesn't mean you have to make a career out of it, but the idea that if I like to write and I like to play instruments and I work as a researcher and I do this or that and all of that can coexist, I think that it's a very bad idea because everyone tells you that if you don't specialize, then you can't make the big bucks because people want to pay people who are specialists to do great things, which, yes, I understand, but also if you're too specialized in only one thing, then it means it's harder for you to do something else if, for example, the area that you work in is no longer relevant. Think of people who their job in the era of operating, people who used to operate phone lines where you will call the number and then they will connect you to who you actually wanted to speak to. People who that was like the only thing they did when mobile phones came and telecoms improved, and then there was no job for them anymore, and so they had to like pretty much start afresh and find something new to do. But if you're relatively skilled in many different areas, I think like most people can learn up to like three things like with good enough depth and then be able to apply that to other places. Then even if one thing is taken away from you for whatever reason, then you have two other things that you can rely on. And then you also have things in the backlog. And I said backlog like a tech person, but things in the backlog that you can continue to improve on or develop. So for me, my main things are research, coaching, and writing. And there are other things within that I do, right? There's strategy work, there's project management, there's organizing things, like focusing on those skills that are quote unquote soft skills, as well as developing my core technical hard skills in like research, for example, and now data analysis. That is something that I'm learning and developing. It means that I'm a very balanced person, if I do say so myself, and I'm just exploring things that I find interesting and things that I can picture myself doing for the immediate future or like relatively, I don't want to say long term because I'm thinking like 30 years when I say long term. But the point is, don't restrict yourself to a certain ideal of I must be great at this one thing or else I have become a failure. Think of it more as I am expanding the possibilities for myself by investing in new skills, in new things, and exploring the potential depths of what I can do. Yeah. Bye. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of A Couple of Things. If you enjoyed this episode or found any part of it insightful, don't forget to share with your friends on your social media and be sure to leave a comment or a review if you can on your podcast listening app. Thank you.